I thought I was done. I guess I wasn't because now my mind's racing. So I figured I'd just share. Um, I wanted to talk about isolation for a minute because that's really, just to be naked and transparent, that's really what I'm feeling right now. Um, I'm feeling really isolated. I got called out at church. They had a message for me, and obviously that was an isolated point. But it's not so much the point of me being put in a crowd because I'm not one to be shy because I'm one to look around and be like, who are you to me? Ain't nobody. Like, I'm not even tripping about it. My life has more of like that I know who I am kind of a thing, or all I've had is me. And that's probably where this whole isolation thing ties into. But I know sometimes, like with my life, I was isolated because my older sister suffered with Down syndrome, and my younger sister was babied. And so I was isolated as the able bodied to take responsibility and take care of my grandma and my uncle, do things around the house, things like that. But my real mom didn't like me at all. And she made it very clear that she didn't like me. Now, not to, since then, her and I have worked on a great relationship. God has made that happen. But that's not what it was growing up. And she would take and put me, in things where it isolated me from everybody. It took me out of the house, like activities or things like that, used as like the whipping boy per se, because she was after me anyway. So everything was kind of my fault. But anyway, back to my point is there was a lot of times where people isolated me because when I was growing up, I wore my brother's clothes, and my dad raised me like a son. So I didn't have a lot of friends. I moved around a lot of different schools. I really had a lot of time to myself, and it was very sad going through abuse and not being able to explain things, and then having your dad start a cult, and then you're going through things like that, and they isolate you even more because there's control in that. And so fast forwarding, sorry, I'm just trying to give you little tidbits so that some of this kind of makes sense as to what's going on in my head up here. But I just want to say that there's so much purpose in those times of isolation because you have an ability to use that separation as God intends it to be, which you're set apart from the world, you're in it, you're not of it. Sometimes that is in reflection of our own family, that they are carnal, and our eternal family is spiritual. It's part of our soul. So in essence, you're not a part of your carnal family in what God speaks to you. You're a part of your spiritual family, which that's why you're a new creation and you're given a new identity. You're giving a new family. You're now a part of his kingdom. And I just want to be real open. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And I'm sorry if I get a little emotional because this is a little emotional for me. Because you're constantly wondering, does somebody get me? Does somebody understand me? And when God does things in your life, it makes you feel more isolated and more alone because he's working in things that some people haven't got to yet. And there's people, and it's not anything that's specific to an age group. Older people that what God was showing me was like way over their head. And I'm like, now I feel even weirder. So what do I do now? But I just want to say that it's okay to feel isolated because that's not alone. You're never alone. That God is always with you. And even when you can't feel him or even when you can't see him, he's working and he's working things out for your life. And part of this surrendering thing that I've had to learn is in those times of isolation that I really have to say, okay, God, I give this to you. Okay, God, show me what you want me to see. Okay, God, let me be a better person because of what you're doing in my life. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be angry. Those don't work in a positive way. And I've always had this thing is I want to be a positive part of the lives around me because I don't play in people's lives. I've only had a few relationships in my life, and when it got to a point that I couldn't give them everything I had, or I was done putting anything in it, anything positive or whatever, I just would walk away and leave it alone because I don't play around. I can't do a ping pong maneuver. I can't do this half in, half out. It's all or nothing. And I thank God for that because it's really put a lot of value in what I have in me to offer somebody because I am not holding back. But that in turn makes me feel alone too because it was always a one-sided, or not alone, isolated because it was a one-sided relationship in those cases. And I want to say that next time you're feeling isolated, just remember that you're not alone, and remember that the reasons that we're different and the reasons that we have that people don't understand, it makes us who we are. It makes us different. It makes us be the person for that other person, not just in a relationship, but just in a connection that they need. And so you can't be like everybody else because not everybody can touch everyone else. That God has specifically placed people in your life that you're going to touch, and it's because of those unique pieces of you that make you feel isolated. And just remember that in isolation there's growth. That you need to take the time to sit in your solitude with yourself and start digging in yourself and saying, what is it that I need to work on today, and constantly be that work in progress that God has started in you, and give him control over the things that you can't control, and give him the just heal you, but give you a supernatural healing that works out glory for God because he gives you his testimony through that healing, because you can speak about it and it doesn't control your emotions. It doesn't bring up memories that are working for you. That you're able to speak about, like for me, like rape and molestation and being, raised in a cult and having, an abusive relationships. And I mean, just so many different dimensions of things that I hope to get more into. Just so that way, like I said, I can be more open and transparent and naked and just give you the truth that I have just from what I've lived in my life. But I just want to leave you with hope and just let you know that, one, you're not alone, because you're never alone, that God is always with you, but that isolation does serve purpose, and it's good to reflect in time. And sometimes you just need to take time out for you, and that's healthy and it's okay. And that's my stuffed bell pepper that's done in the oven. And I just want you to know that the more you open and share with yourself about you, the people that you have that you trust, that you can confide in, just know that they're always going to fail you. God is the one that you have to confide in more than anything and anyone. And it's you and him.